Hi everyone, it's Paddy here from arithmetichub.com, thanking you for choosing this video, but reminding you that whilst this is one method to solve questions like this, it's not the only method. With that being said, let's explore this concept a little bit further.
Hi everyone, so today we're having a look at ordering fractions and we're ordering them from smallest to largest, same as we normally do. Now, when we look at ordering fractions, to start with, these types of questions are going to be quite straightforward and quite easy to do. I'm going to start you off with the type of question that actually doesn't really link to the rest of this method. It's slightly different to the rest of the method. And then we're going to have a look at a method that's going to help you as you go through school to be able to answer these types of questions as they do become more challenging. So let's start off by talking about the method. The method says, for the first part, make sure your fractions have a common denominator. If they don't, find one. That's for every type of question you do with this, except for these ones where you have a common numerator, okay? And then the second part of the method says, once you have a common denominator, the smaller the numerator, the smaller the fraction. So once your denominator is the same, the smaller the numerator, the smaller the fraction. Let's start off looking at this question now. So if we start off looking at this question, we've got 1/3, 1/4, 1/2 and 1/10. We have to order them from smallest to largest. Now these have a common numerator, the numerator is the same. So all that means is, actually, we don't need to find a common denominator because the numerators are the same. So we can order them because if we think about it like this, say for example, we have your cakes or your pizzas or your sweets or chocolate or whatever people normally use to be able to split wholes up. And we're thinking about our fractions. If we were to think, say for example, of a pizza, and we were to talk about these, if you were to have half of a, so a half would be half of your whole. Half of a whole might look something like this. Okay, so a half of a whole might look something like this. If we were to have a quarter of the same whole, the whole has stayed the same, but it's now been split into more pieces. So it's now been split into more pieces. So 1/4 is going to be smaller than 1/2, isn't it? Because the whole is the same size, but a quarter is smaller than the half. So you get less. The fraction that you get is smaller. Here, the whole's been split into 4, and you get one of them. Here, the same sized whole has been split into 2, and you get one of them. So you end up with more when you have a half. So for this type of question, what we would do is you would order from smallest to largest. And I'm going to say, well, if your whole has been split into 10 and you have one of them, 1/10 is going to be the smallest. If your whole has then been split into 2, 3 and 4, then you need to think, right, well, which of these is going to be the smallest? So again, here what you've got is you've got the bigger the denominator is, the smaller the fraction is going to be because your whole has been split into more parts and you each get the same amount of parts. You're all going to get one part, but here your whole's been split into 4, here your whole's been split into 3, and here your whole's been split into 2. So your next smallest fraction is going to be 1/4 because the whole split into 4 and you get one of them. The next one's going to be 1/3 because it's a whole split into 3 and you get one of them. And here, the final one, your large fraction here is going to be 1/2 because the whole split into 2 and you get one of them, okay? So, when you have the common numerator, we don't need to worry about the common denominator. For these types of questions though, we already have a common denominator. So these are easy to be able to work out because we can check in with our method. Make sure your fractions have a common denominator. If they don't, find one. For this question, it does. 3/10, 5/10, 1/10, 8/10. So again, you're imagining your whole's been split into 10 and you're thinking, right, well, how many pieces out of the 10 do I get? Once you have a common denominator, the smaller the numerator, the smaller the fraction. So, do we have a common denominator? Yes, we do. They're all in tenths. Okay, so now it's going to be the smaller the numerator, the smaller the fraction. So I can see that we've got 3/10, 5/10, 1/10 and 8/10. So my smallest fraction there is going to be 1/10 because your whole's been split into 10 and then you get one part. My next smallest, I'm going to look for the next smallest numerator. I've got 3, 5 and 8. I know the smallest out of those is going to be 3. So my whole's been split into 10 and I have 3 parts out of the 10. My next smallest will be 5/10. The whole's been split into 10 and I have 5 of the 10, and then my largest part would be 8/10. My whole's been split into 10 and I have 8/10. Again, now I can think about it and think, does it pass the eye test? does this make sense if I'm ordering them from smallest to largest? Is 1/10 going to be smaller than 8/10? Well, yeah, if the same whole's been split into 10 and I've got one piece, I'm going to have less than if the same whole's been split into 10 and I have 8 pieces. So yeah, it makes sense. I've ordered them from smallest to largest. Now we're going to have a look at what happens when our denominator isn't the same. Okay, so let's have a look at this question where it's become a little bit more challenging now, because we can see here we don't have a common denominator. We've got 3/4, 2/3, 1/2 and 5/6. Now we don't have a common denominator. So what we need to do here is we need to check in with our method and see how we're going to solve the question that looks like this. So it says, first things first, make sure your fractions have a common denominator. If they don't, find one. And then once you have a common denominator, the smaller the numerator, the smaller the fraction. So we can see these don't. So we're going to have to start off by finding a common denominator. Now, one way we can do this is we can multiply them all together. That's not an efficient method. It might be a slightly more efficient method now with smaller denominators like this, but as we get to more and more challenging questions, it's going to become less and less efficient, and even now it's still not going to be particularly efficient. That's great when we're adding fractions. When we're finding a common denominator, you can just multiply the two of them together and there's only 2 of them, so the number is going to be quite likely to be easy to work with. These kinds of denominators, once we start multiplying them all together, they're going to create some very large numbers that don't make it easy to work with. They become very inefficient. So what we have to do is think of an efficient method. My most efficient method for this is finding a number that has all of these, 4, 3, 2 and 6 as factors of it. Okay, so I need to know my times tables really well. If I was unsure about them, what I could do is say, right, okay, I'm going to start with my 2 largest times tables here. And when I look at my 2 largest times tables, I'm going to write them down and see if any numbers come up that are in both of them, okay? I'm not going to write all of them. I might write my first 5. That's what I normally do, isn't it? Okay, so let's try that. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. And then 4 is my next largest. 4, 8, 12. Now, I don't need to carry on going because I can see both 4 and 6 have been factors of 12. So what I would do next, rather than carry on going and seeing how many more I could find, is I'd say, right, okay, let me see if there's anything else that might be a factor of 12. So, is 3 going to be a factor of 12? 3, 6, 9, 12. Yes, it is. Is 2 going to be a factor of 12? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yes, it is. Now, I knew 12 was even. I didn't need to do that with 2. So, what I can see, though, is that 2, 3, 4 and 6 are all factors of 12. So our common denominator could be 12, couldn't it? So, now what I need to do is write them out. 3/4, and I'm just going to say straight away over 12 like that. 2/3, 1/2, and 5/6. I'm going to put them all over 12 because I know my common denominator is going to be 12. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my equivalent fractions method that we've looked at. Again, if you can't remember that method, you've not looked at it yet, or you might want a bit of a refresher, go back, check that method again just to see, okay? So, we're going to have a little look at it here though, so we can say, right, what have I multiplied 4 by to get to 12? Well, I know I've times 4 by 3 to get to 12. And I know when I'm finding equivalent fractions, what I do to my denominator, I also do to my numerator. So I've done 3 times 3 as well to get me 9/12. Same again here. What have I multiplied 3 by to get to 12? Well, I know 3 times 4 is going to get me 12. So I'm going to do the same to my numerator here. 2 times 4 is going to give me 8. What have I multiplied 2 by to get to 12? I've multiplied it by 6. So I'm going to do the same to the top. And then what have I multiplied 6 by to get to 12? I've multiplied it by 2. So I do the same to the top. Now I have my common denominator. Now I can go to the second part of my method. Once you have a common denominator, the smaller the numerator, the smaller the fraction. I do have a common denominator, so now I know the smaller the numerator, the smaller the fraction. The smallest numerator I have is 6/12. The next smallest numerator I have is 8/12. The next smallest is 9/12. And the next smallest is 10/12. Does it make sense that this should be smallest to largest? 6/12, 8/12, 9/12, 10/12. Well, my whole has been split into 12. 6 is smaller than 8, 8 is smaller than 9, 9 is smaller than 10, so yes, I've ordered them from smallest to largest.
If you found this video useful, then I would massively appreciate you liking the video and subscribing to the channel. If you want to explore more methods or practice using the method we've looked at here, why not check out the teacher videos at arithmetichub.com. Arithmetic Hub has videos just like this on different methods, specifically targeting areas needed in Key Stage 2. There you can practice one particular skill or generate your own sets of calculations designed to challenge your understanding of all the topics covered in Years 3 to 6.